Hello everyone, welcome to Spire Session, an online series where our Spire leaders talk about interesting developments, trends and opportunities in hot sectors. I'm Marie, and in today's session we welcome Leon, our CEO. Hi Leon, welcome to Spire Sessions.
Hi Marie, good morning.
Hi. You started Spire Research and Consulting in the year 2000. Tell us, why did you start Spire?
Well, 20 years ago, we saw a gap in the industry where there was no research company that was focusing on connecting all the dots and putting everything together. The companies focused on traditional consumer research, or companies producing multi-client reports, which tend to be more cookie cutter, more standardized, and not really tailored to the needs of individual clients. So we thought we could come in there and really build an organization that tried to connect all the dots together, try to integrate findings from different types of research to generate something that was really highly customized, highly actionable across the whole region.
Do you think this approach is still relevant today?
I think it's definitely relevant. The industry has changed a great deal, and technology plays a greater role, and the whole multi-client research space has evolved and gone in different directions, and there is a much wider availability of multi-client products and also published and secondary data available today than there was 20 years ago. But there is still room for a thoughtful analyst to sit down, to pull together all the information that is available, from primary sources, from interviews, from omnibus approaches, from publicly available information, integrate that with a good understanding of the industry and of the needs of the client, and come up with something that is highly customized to a particular decision-making requirement, like a new product launch, brand re-engineering, entering a new country, and so on. That is still very relevant today.
How do you think the market research industry has evolved in the last 2 decades?
Well, I think it's evolved with a view to commercially acquiring greater economies of scale. So you do see a bigger role for panels, for example, and there are various kinds of panels, more in the consumer space than in the B2B space. There is a much greater use of online interviewing as opposed to more traditional, telephone and face-to-face interviewing. And the industry has evolved in that direction. But I think, exercising thoughtfulness, integrating different kinds of research with a very high degree of customization, with a very high degree of service back and forth, between the agency and the client to produce something that is really, highly meaningful. I think that is still something that is very relevant and will probably always be relevant.
The technology just helps to perhaps make it easier and faster. You started...
Technology is a tool, absolutely. Technology is a tool.
Yeah. You started Spire way back then. So what area of research has been your passion?
Well, it's hard to single out any particular one, but I guess if you were to put me on the spot, I would say what really excites me is projects which have an element of business consulting, a bigger and more important element of business consulting, where we marshal all the facts that we've obtained to make a very clear recommendation, and then seeing that recommendation being implemented. For example, one of our major clients is in the automotive sector, and we worked with them on multiple projects to help them to develop a strategy to market their aftermarket parts that are being used by owners of their vehicles. And we help them to understand the needs of the customer, the industry landscape, benchmark what was happening with other major players in terms of distribution centers, logistics. And we came up with a recommendation to build a distribution center in Singapore for the ASEAN region, in Shanghai for China, and a few other regions of the world as well. Those recommendations were accepted, and those distribution centers were built, and they're still operating today. And when you look at that, that is, of course, a great source of satisfaction.
Yeah, to see, our efforts sort of come to fruition. That must be really nice. Now, let's talk about COVID. This COVID-19 pandemic has affected lives and economies on a global scale. What do you think has been the single biggest impact of COVID on industry?
Well, the biggest impact for the research industry, I think, has been the inability to really do face-to-face physical interviewing in the way that we used to do, in the way that many of us would like to do in certain contexts. Well, because of travel restrictions and also because of the wariness of people to have face-to-face meetings when you're in an environment when there are so many uncertainties. I think a lot more of the field activity had to migrate to other forms of interviewing. Of course, you have traditional phone interviewing, but then you also have online interviewing, you have instant chat messaging kind of interviewing. So I think that was something the industry had to respond to, something we responded to in Spire. We rejigged our process to give a much bigger role to non-physical face-to-face interviewing. We rejigged our process internally to enable our team members to collaborate through virtual meetings, doing work from home. So we did respond to that, I think, in a robust way, and that's, I guess, the silver lining of any crisis. It tests you, and hopefully it brings out the best.
Well, that leads me to asking you if you have any personal philosophy that helps you manage and cope with changes and challenges, especially during, these unprecedented times.
Well, yes, I do. And my personal practice is meditation. I try to keep up a meditation practice regularly. I think change and challenges are a constant in life and in business world. Setbacks and challenges happen all the time. The unexpected happens all the time. You get curveballs all the time. And I look on that also as a challenge, but the challenge is also your ally. It brings out eventually the best in you. It forces you to innovate. It forces you to find complex solutions to novel problems, and that can actually improve you as a person, improve an organization in terms of its capabilities, its ability to. So I try to take that perspective, and when I do meditation, I try to just take a step back and let go of the preoccupation with the day-to-day, the immediate, one could say mundane problems or challenges that you face, and try and just see the bigger picture of what you're trying to achieve in life. And then at the same time, try to be alive in the present moment, not always living in the past and in the future. And when you achieve that kind of calm, then wisdom can flow forth much more easily, and solutions to problems actually emerge. So that's how I try to cope with the daily hurly-burly.
So meditation helps you to calm down, let go, and pretty much be present.
Well, it takes time, and I think any meditation practice takes time to make its effects felt. So I would caution that, and it took time for me as well, because you have to get your mind used to operating in that way. But I think, yes, it certainly does help greatly.
And you said you've been doing it for 10 years now.
Yes, over 10 years. I first started doing this seriously probably about 12 years ago, thereabouts. And I've tried to keep a very regular practice.
Wow.
Not always possible, but I have certainly tried, and it is still fairly regular to this day.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to try that myself. Well, thank you so much, Leon, for sharing your views on Spire Session. And that wraps out our episode today. If you have any questions for Leon or want to find out more about Spire Research and Consulting, you can email us at spire@spireresearch.com. Take care, everybody. And I think, Leon, do you have a last maybe thing to say to our audience?
Not really, other than stay calm, stay true to yourself, and remember that whatever life throws at you, this too will pass. Since you asked me for a parting shot, that's the message.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, take care, everybody. We'll see you at the next session. Goodbye.
Bye.